turns out that if you're gonna do a crime, you're better off not filming yourself. At least that might be the case when it comes to vandalizing the Hollywood sign with the Pump.fun logo. But more on that in a second. Welcome to Cryptocurrents, the weekly podcast of people working in crypto and blockchain, talking about everything that is important in crypto and blockchain. No shilling, no FOMO, just everything you need to know to be better equipped for everything in crypto. Think of us like your friendly USA government, except we never shut down and we're always working for you. I'm your host, Vince, and today I'm joined by our resident degen, Kale from the Encrypt team.
I only shut down on weekends.
And Katya from the Mu team.
I shut down randomly like an old piece of hardware. But hello.
Like Solana.
Yeah, I mean, there's a turn her on and turn her off again joke in there somewhere, but I'm not going to touch that. But
no, let's not. Maybe.
So we'll come back to Pump.fun, but first, let's talk about something that just made me absolutely jaw slacked, and that is the Tether valuation on par with OpenAI. Now, in crypto, we all kind of know, and because we are basically tech companies, we all know valuations can be insane, and they're just kind of pulled out of thin air, and they're just multipliers on fundraising. But to say that Tether is on par with the valuation of OpenAI just is absurd to me. But gut check me on this, guys. Am I crazy, or is this just? Talk to me, Kale. You seem opinionated on both AI and Tether.
Yeah, no, this is insane. I actually wanted to ask you, do you think that Tether is overvalued or is OpenAI undervalued?
I would actually kind of say that OpenAI kind of feels like a pretty good valuation where it is. I definitely, people talk about how we're in an AI bubble similar to the dot-com bubble, and I disagree, because all of these AI companies are actually making money. Whereas the dot-com bubble, people were just like, we're garagesales.com and we're a billion-dollar company, but we don't make a single cent. But I do feel like OpenAI's kind of valuation kind of fits kind of where their fundraising is to this point and kind of the tech they've developed.
Yeah, I generally agree. I feel like it's crazy. Yeah, no, I feel like if I were to answer that question that I just asked, it does seem like OpenAI is offering much more actual utility and value.
Yeah.
At least when we're talking of $500 billion worth of valuation. Yeah, that kind of feels over the top for Tether. Even though stablecoins, obviously, they're going to be very useful. $500 billion worth of a single company. I don't know. That seems over the top. And they're asking for $20 billion for 3% equity of the company, which is just crazy for all of my Shark Tank enjoyers out there. That's literally, imagine somebody walks in Shark Tank and they're like, oh, I think my company's worth $500 billion with a B. Can you give me 20 billion and I'll give you 3% equity? That's just, it's insane. But I mean, Tether's going to tether.
And for me, it's also just what are you going to use that 20 billion for? Just to buy more stable assets? I mean, it is Brock Pierce's company, right? And they were going to buy up Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, somewhere and turn it into a blockchain island.
Really?
Yeah. So maybe they're just going to do that because that failed, 10 years ago. Maybe it's time to try it again. But Katya, you look pensive and deep in thought.
Well, I actually disagree. But let me explain. Because when you started, you said, they want to be valuated at 500 billion on par with AI, which is crazy, which kind of implies that OpenAI makes sense and Tether doesn't. But to me, either they both don't make sense or they both do. Because if you think about it, OpenAI is the company may be older, but we know about the company for 2 years?
Yeah, probably thereabouts.
Yeah. So it's super new. It's very shaky. There are now studies coming out about companies using AI. MIT did a study, Stanford just did a study about AI work slop, and that the utility that companies are getting are, we're like, it is not there yet. Like, it's doubtful how much utility companies are actually getting out of AI. There seems to be a division. Like, some are getting lots, but like it's a very small percentage, and the rest are getting none. So either those companies hacked it somehow that others haven't, or their use case is super specific that it fits the AI proposition. But I guess my point is like, um, if you say open AI makes sense, even though they're so young, and we like, we kind of like, we're like, oh wow, it can do so much, but the actual value added to the economy is super unclear yet.
True, and
Then
I
Tether,
guess, yeah, I was gonna say.
yeah, is the same. And if you think about USDT, it's like 60% of stablecoins now or more. So if you think about it in terms of like replacing currency, like global currency, then it's like USD and yen and pound and every currency you can think of combined, because it could replace currencies, So then it's undervalued if you think about it that way, because like it's literally all the money in all of the world. That's where it's going.
Yeah, but then that's assuming that Tether is going to swallow everything.
Assuming, right. And OpenAI also is not the only AI. So we are also kind of assuming that it's going to dominate.
Yeah, but
so
it's probably the best by like head and shoulders above everyone else, I feel like.
Not always. Like Kale, I was asking Kale recently, like what he thinks about the models. And I think his point was fair, because he's like, it changes every week. One is on top, the other is on top. They release a new model, and they're like, this one is a little better. But my point is like, the whole thing is just crazy. Like 500 billion valuations of anything are just, I think this is just absurd. It's getting into an area of like complete
made up numbers.
Exactly. But if it makes sense for OpenAI, then it does make sense for Tether as well, I think. Like, I don't think they're so very different in the kind of like their newness and their kind of like, is it really adding any value, or is it going to be all the value? Like, we don't know.
Yeah, they both kind of need to prove themselves.
Yeah, and I guess, valuations only really come to fruition when they come to fruition, because we've been around in the space long enough to see a bunch of companies that are like, quote unquote, unicorn valuation, billion-dollar companies, and then it's like, oh, what happened to them? Oh, they collapsed. That's crazy. Where'd that $1 billion go? Insanity. But it is kind of interesting, because it just kind of, because I'm trying to will it into existence, the pivot away from of AI back into crypto, but that just kind of felt like Tether was like, that's a good number. Same. We're the same. We're the same. Yeah. Like, it just didn't have a lot of thought, and just everyone I've interacted with that was talking about that was like, what? What are you on about? But speaking about what we're on about, let's talk about L2s, which are built on top of Ethereum, and specifically Base and Vitalik coming out and kind of defending specifically Base, and L2s in general. And it's kind of rare to see him speak, I feel like, on the broader ecosystem, for better or worse. So it's always kind of interesting when it does happen. But Kale, talk to me about your feelings on this.
Dude, this is like so above my pay grade. Like, if Vitalik was talking about like all these terms, I'm like, what is this? What is it? Like, so apparently Vitalik made a post praising Base, and yeah, because like so as I'm sure, like, if you've watched the episodes in the past, like the general sentiment on crypto Twitter is reflected by me, like on every episode, where I'm like, oh, down with Base, like Base is so centralized, like Base
our local representative of the crypto Twitter messenger.
Yeah, and so that has been like my general take. Because that's like what I see. Everybody that I follow, like the people that I respect, people that I like learn things from, they're out here like shitting on Base. So I'm like, oh, Base is like probably like not the move. But then yeah, Vitalik made a post basically like defending Base and clarifying a bunch of misconceptions about what people were posting about and talking about on Twitter, or their criticisms of Base. And I guess like one of his main points was that the sequencer of the L2 like can't actually stop any transactions, or like withdraw your funds, or like it's not like technically centralized like people claim it is. And yeah, that was just like all new to me because like I don't really know how L2s work on the back end, and I'm not 100% sure like what the sequencer does and how it affects decentralization and all that. And so yeah, like to see Vitalik of all people come out and defend base, it like flipped my world upside down. Now I'm like, okay, maybe I should like look more into this. So yeah, I, I'm from my point of view, it's like kind of high level technical for me, but it's very interesting because yeah, like apparently base isn't the devil. Like I don't know, dude. So yeah, I need to learn more.
Katya?
Yeah, so I think yes, I agree. It's surprising to see any time to see Vitalik come out and specifically address a project on Ethereum for all intents and purposes that he praises or whatever, because it's very, very super rare, which is of course now base is running around with this, that like it's so rare for him to do it, that this is it, this is the, you know, the Oscars of Ethereum. I do believe that his this tweet that everyone references was more specifically to so base came under attack in terms of like whether or not it can be considered an exchange in the eyes of the SEC. And I think, and I agree with Kale that it's a little technical, and I didn't like fully understand because I don't understand what a sequencer is really like on an L2. But I believe the argument was that if an L2 can like optimize things, like optimize fees, optimize transactions in some way, which is in a way the point of an L2, so it can make things faster and easier compared to the L1, which is Ethereum, and then finalize on Ethereum. Whether because of that, it can actually be considered an exchange and therefore be subject to the regulations of an exchange in the eyes of the SEC. And the bigger conversation was around the fact that many people came up to say you can't consider L2's exchanges because it's like Amazon Web Services. Like if you have a NASDAQ or whatever, something running on AWS, can you say that AWS has an exchange? No, that's ridiculous. So like
True.
this was the argument that L2s are the infrastructure. They can optimize things for exchanges, but they are not themselves an exchange. So in the context of that conversation, Vitalik came out saying generally that basically what he's saying is base is doing L2 right. Like it is the correct approach to L2s, which is in itself a separate conversation because I think not everyone agrees in the Ethereum community on what layer 2s are supposed to be, what they're supposed to do. Like I recall the podcast you guys did with Olga, our VP, and she also talked about L2s and how like some of them are like trying for too much or trying to be like a whole ecosystem unto themselves, which they shouldn't be. It's like it should be simpler. And I think that's Vitalik's point of view as well. And he considers base to be a good example of an L2 of how it should be done. And that was his argument. And yeah, and like I read the comments, and some people, and of course, there's like 10,000 people going, based, you know, in the comments. And then there are some people coming back with like, I'm surprised that Vitalik would defend because they are quite centralized, because they can. He gave examples of how people can still withdraw their funds even if the L2 kind of crashes and burns for whatever reason. Like there are ways to do it. And how the powers that people think L2 runners have are not as big as the centralization powers are not as big as people think. And so, yeah, so it is surprising. I am unconvinced. Like, I think base is stupid for various reasons. I have no technical knowledge, so they might be doing L2s right, but they can still be like two things can be true at the same time, you know. Like, but yeah, but I think it's kind of like for the average user, for the mainstream user, it's kind of like a deep cut, but for the Ethereum community, it's big news for him to come out like this and to speak for base. So it is surprising, but yeah.
One thing that kind of stood out for me and really kind of like intrigued me is what Kale said. Like most of crypto Twitter is anti-base. who's using Base, because like they've clearly got a bunch of people actually using it, and so that kind of intrigues me, because I'm like, oh, are these actual like normal people using Base? Like, what is this? Like, and so that all of this kind of made me more interested to kind of see what that kind of user base is and what they're doing to attract this user base that is clearly not the vocal minority on Twitter.
Yeah, it also makes
that's
you
a good
wonder,
question.
like, whether the crypto Twitter, whether like crypto has an ivory tower to it, which it definitely does,
For
and
sure.
whether the
Yeah.
crypto Twitter is that ivory tower that's kind of like navel gazing and like just kind of like discussing academic points while people are like, this is great, I love this, like leave me alone.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely. Like, I do feel like that is kind of the case, where CT is kind of the ivory tower, because I was into crypto for years before I joined crypto Twitter, and after joining crypto Twitter, like I definitely caught that vibe. It's like it's much more judgmental in crypto Twitter, and it's like, yeah, yeah, like the base users could be coming from like Reddit or like literally anywhere. So
Mhm.
Well, speaking of literally anywhere, that is a great segue to our next piece, which is talking about Consensus teaming up with Swift for a ledger specifically for stablecoins. For you can spend and send stablecoins anywhere in the world, and we've definitely highlighted before that stablecoins are a big part of the conversation this cycle, and probably in crypto going forward forever. But Katya, talk to me about this announcement. Is this a good thing, or is it just kind of like people trying to make headlines, or is it just something that we'll forget about?
I think it is something that we'll forget about, because I think this is probably the best example so far of this thing, like that we used to talk about, like, the crypto will be everywhere, but we won't know it.
Mm.
And I'm kind of actually surprised that it took this long, but I'm not surprised that it's happening. And because um kind of like Swift was the king or queen or whatever of bank settlement so far. And what they're saying is that like this is going to be an interbank thing, so like 30 banks are supposedly joining onto this train. They're not going to issue a stable coin. They're going to keep doing what they're doing. They're going to be a settlement layer for all the banks everywhere, but now it's going to support stable coins. So whatever it is, like JP Morgan is going to have their own stable coin, like BNP Paribas, whatever, like European, they're all going to have their own stable coins. Swift is going to support it all, and probably USDT, USDC, and connected to the existing traditional rails. So I think this is a great example of that sort of like TradFi quietly being like,
Great idea. Let me steal it.
yeah, like we studied this for a little. Remember how when we talked, I guess to Steven from
Mhm.
Track. Anyway, like don't underestimate these people. Like they studied this for a while. They looked at it and they're like, okay, this is what you guys like now. This is what we're just gonna do it. We can do it, and you don't have to go anywhere. You can still use Swift. It's just gonna support your stable coins now. Done and done. Like so, and they can absorb the volume of the stable coins now as well. Makes perfect sense. And like you said, I think we'll forget about it, but it's going to be there on the back end. And we'll forget about it because unfortunately we are not issuers of USDT or USDC or any multi-billion valuation coin. But I think it will matter to them, to the big players, because like I said, they will just be like, we can handle it. You don't need it separately. Just keep using Swift. We'll just
Yeah.
add a blockchain to it, and that's it.
Swift now with more blockchain.
Correct. Exactly. You should ping them. They'll take
There you
that.
go, guys. I've just got a job offer.
Yep.
Kale, tell me about the Swift announcement.
I mean, this is supremely uninteresting to me. It's like,
Yep.
I read this and I'm like, oh, cool, another stablecoin chain. Just give it a couple years, there'll be an L2. Yeah, because I don't know. It's just like part of me is like, it's cool to see, as always, like crypto growing and expanding our octopus arms over the world. But yeah, I don't know. It's not like super exciting news. It's like another stablecoin thing drops every other day. at this point. The most
I
exciting
feel like
piece
it's like
of
a
this
war
news.
of protocols. I'm sorry, like
No,
I'll forget
exactly,
this thought.
exactly.
Like there was a war of protocols like when internet was being invented, and
Yeah.
the IATTP and what TCP and whatever. Like I'm
Mhm.
sure there were other contenders, like these won and stuck and whatever. And I feel like
That's
right now it's like a war of the stablecoin protocols.
no 100%, and that's what I was just gonna point out is that to me the best part of this news is that XRP maxis are in shambles because for the last 15 years their whole thing, like their main selling point, like they sold my aunt, like my mom's best friend, her husband, people that should not know anything about crypto. They bought XRP because they were told XRP is going to replace Swift. Swift is going to start building on the XRP ledger. Like XRP is going to 10,000 because of Swift.
I
And
actually didn't
yeah,
even like know
you never heard
this.
that? Yeah, no, that was
No,
like the
because like when
XRP's
you
like main
said
selling point.
right, when you were laughing and you were like Swift and no mention of Ripple, I was confused. I was like, eventually I'll ask him what he means by this, but like I didn't even know.
Yeah. And so for me, like that is the most entertaining part of this news. It's like cool, another stablecoin thing is happening. It's cool to see the progress, of course. I want them to be in L2, but like for me, I'm loving seeing the XRP maxis just like
It does
on
kind of
Twitter
show.
crying.
It does kind of show you that, like, with any of these crypto projects where they're like, we're going to be the blah, blah, blah of blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, oh, wait, but that thing that we're trying to replace can actually just take over and do it however they
By
want.
itself, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I saw people posting on Twitter. So this is the new XRP cope. They're like, oh yeah, well, we were never supposed to integrate into Swift. We're actually the main goal was to replace Swift. So it doesn't
Right.
matter what they're doing because we're gonna replace them. So yeah, that's the new XRP cope.
I mean, everyone's got to find the copium for their bags, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Speaking of their bags, let's talk about this absolutely insane, graffiti. Was it graffiti or was it a
Oh.
tarp?
It
Of
was
the
a tarp.
Hollywood side. It was a tarp.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was really funny because I actually was on the bleeding edge of this and sent you guys a photo of the LA subreddits when someone was like, oh, look, there's someone
Vandalized,
vandalized the Hollywood sign. And I'm like, is that the Pump.fun pill logo?
You totally did. You did. You called it right away.
Yeah. So
I mean, you
Katya,
could see it, but like you wouldn't, like, not everybody would recognize the logo right away for sure.
yeah. So talk to me about this vandalism, Katya.
Honestly, I'm entertained. I like people doing crazy shit, like when it's like, I like the fact that they didn't. I like that it's not like graffiti. I like the fact that they didn't like destroy things. They just hung a thing onto it.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
easily like, I respect that. I appreciate that in pranks and like stupid like things. So I feel like I mean, more power to great fun. They didn't destroy anything. They didn't destroy property. Like they nearly got killed, but I guess that's their own business. But no, I think it's fun. I think like when those, like, what was that thing where like people were throwing inappropriate things at female athletes?
Yeah, the WNBA.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's something that I would want to punch a person for and be like, these people should be taken out back and shot. And, like, so, but this sort of thing, like, I don't know, it's different to me. I kind of thought it was fun.
100%.
I'm not a big fan of Pump.fun per se, but I'm a fan of like slightly extreme but clean fun like this.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Because like 10 years ago, that would have been me. Doing like just ridiculous dumb
Kilby,
things
like, I'm
that.
too old for this shit
Yeah,
now.
100%, bro. My knees are sore, my back is sore. Like I'm not swinging on the Hollywood sign. But
Not to
yeah.
mention what your fiance would have to say about it when you got home.
no, just like what happens on chain stays on chain. She doesn't even know about that. But yeah, like I generally agree with Katya. It's fun, it's cool. Because like the whole point of like graffiti and that whole scene is to like mainly, or like typically it's to like spread a message, just whatever the message may be. In this case it's Pump.fun. They're like selling their bags. I just wish that instead of shilling Pump.fun, like they could have put the Ethereum diamond.
Mhm.
They could have
Yeah.
like done so many things, but they're shilling like Pump.fun, like the literal shitcoin casino on Solana.
What I
So
also, if I dovetail off that, what's funny is like it's only if you know you know. Like this did
Yeah.
no actual like good for
Like you can't look
true,
it up
but like
really.
also
Yeah.
like there is some promo, you know, because like there will be a handful of people that see it and they're like, oh, I saw that pill on Instagram last week. Like, what actually is it?
But there will also there was probably, even if it's local, but there was probably news coverage, and they probably did mention that it was a crypto thing.
Exactly.
Called
And then like
Pump.fun.
even if that local news coverage doesn't like affect Pump.fun necessarily like directly,
Mhm.
they can use that as content for promo. Like, look, we destroyed
Yeah.
LA, and they make like a promo video out of it. So like, yeah, I mean, overall, I feel like a lot of eyes will go to Pump.fun towards this. I wish that they just like did the ETH diamond or something
Yeah,
cooler.
I didn't think of that, but I agree with you, Kale. Yeah.
I would say
Like,
the Bitcoin logo, but even Bitcoin at this point, I'm like, I don't know. I like Ethereum way more than Bitcoin. I'm an
I
ETH
mean, the
boy.
Bitcoin logo is so much prettier. Like,
I don't know, man. That's
What?
no, you think
debatable.
you think Bitcoin is
No.
pretty? Bitcoin is ugly. That orange, get out of here.
Yeah, no,
No,
that's
I hate. Yeah, no, yeah. Like that's what I'm
Ethereum is
saying.
prettier than
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, we
100%.
misunderstood you.
Okay.
We thought you were saying that Bitcoin is pretty. I hate the orange. Like,
Yeah.
it's so awful.
But I mean, for me, like I love guerrilla marketing when it's done well. This just kind of feels like a prank and not necessarily guerrilla marketing, which I always think is kind of a bummer.
It's
Because
hard
like
to differentiate.
I can't remember if it's Tinder or Hinge has a great story about their guerrilla marketing on college campuses, where they would just put up fake flyers that said Facebook is banned on this campus, Instagram is banned on this campus, Tinder is banned on this campus. And we were like, oh, what's this other app that's like banned on this campus? I definitely have to check it out. Because they did a nice association of like, it's just as big as Facebook and Instagram, but it's this other new thing and it's also illegal. It was kind of like a nice association and drove eyeballs to that.
Mhm.
This just kind of, yeah, you're going to maybe get some coverage that some little newscaster is like, and it's apparently a Pump.fun website that did this. So do with that what you will. But
True.
it is interesting when crypto comes into the real world. It's frequently not great, but I do think Katya has a great point that at least they didn't destroy anything, which is a great way to destroy this episode because we've reached the end. Thank you, dear listener, for tuning in. We hope you learned something and are better equipped for the rest of your week of crypto because you should be. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on YouTube, give us a like, drop us a comment. Find our Twitters in the description box below. Send us a tweet and say hi. We love it when people say GM. And we will see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Bye.